Sinclair Broadcast Group, connecting people with content everywhere.
Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand. Hospitals across the country begin coronavirus vaccinations.
By May or June, when 70 or 80% of Americans get the vaccine, the virus will essentially be gone.
Assistant Secretary for Health and Human Services, Admiral Giroir, is here.
We have the top scientists and doctors in the world. We are world class at this. And truly, I mean, this is an incredible victory.
And pandemic expert Dr. Dina Grayson discusses the coronavirus vaccine.
Absolutely. It could cost us our entire republic. It could bring our economy down.
Plus, you won't want to miss my conversation with Texas Congressman Brian Babbitt. All that right now in America This Week, United We Stand. Welcome to America This Week, United We Stand. I'm Eric Bowling. A bright light of hope in the end of a dark 2020. The rollout of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine is underway right now in hospitals nationwide, and the FDA is expected to approve a second vaccine in the coming days. Joining me now is the coronavirus testing czar for the Trump administration and Assistant Secretary for the Department of Health and Human Services, Admiral Giroir. Admiral, thank you very much for joining us. Important man on an important day. Sir, bring us up to speed on what's going on with the vaccine and the FDA approvals.
Well, this has been a truly great week. As you know, the Pfizer vaccine, which was shown to be about 94-95% effective, is already getting in people's arms right now. 2.9 million doses have been shipped all around the country. And as you said, this week we are expecting that the Moderna vaccine, which is a very similar technology to the Pfizer vaccine, we're expecting it will get authorized and be in people's arms as early as next week as well. Moderna, again, the preliminary data that's being reviewed, about 95% effective, 100% effective in preventing severe disease. And like the Pfizer vaccine, it works across all age groups. And that was a real concern for us because some vaccines work well in the young and healthy, but not in the elderly. Both of these work very well in the elderly, whom we know suffer the worst burden of COVID. So just great news all around. And by the end of December, we believe we'll have 20 million Americans immunized by the end of this month. So great news, historic, and a great win for the American people.
That's fantastic. Great. Congratulations, Admiral. Also, I was reading and watching some of your commentary recently, and it looks like there's some approved home testing potential coming forward. Can you tell us about that?
So this is sort of the next wave of our testing strategy, and we've been working on these since March and investing money, time, technology, leaving no stone unturned. But this week, what you saw was the first authorization of an over-the-counter test. What that means is you don't need a prescription. It will be available online or at your local pharmacies that you buy, you go home and you do the test. It's just sort of like the pregnancy test everyone talked about. This is the first one. There are only going to be about 3 million made in January, but that's a start. And also this week, what you saw authorized is that another home test, the Binax test, which we've sent almost 90 million out, there's a version of that test that is authorized for complete home use as well. Now, that one you need a prescription for, you need a doctor's order, but it's still going to be an at-home test that you can find out right there on the spot within 15 minutes. So this is really the next wave of advances in testing. We've gone from just being in the laboratory to some sophisticated point-of-care tests that were not very scalable to the 150 million card-based tests that you can get, in schools, at retailers, in the nursing homes, now to the home-based testing. So that's where we're going. So another great breakthrough moving forward.
Fantastic. Admiral, tell us, this test, first of all, how long does it take to get your results back, number one? And number two, does it distinguish between you have COVID right now and you had COVID and therefore maybe antibodies?
So both of these home tests, as well as a home test that was also authorized a few weeks ago, but a very small number that are available, they are all rapid. So you get the results within 15 or 20 minutes. And these are tests that tell you if you are currently infected. These are not antibody tests. So these would be tests that say, look, you're infected. Even if you feel well, you're infected and you need to isolate yourself because you could pass this on to other people. So this is exactly the kind of test we want to help inform people, many people before they go to work or before they go to travel, or with the new CDC recommendations, if you can, get a test 4 or 5 days after you travel because you are at higher risk. These things are exactly perfect for that. They're not free, right? They're in the $20 to $30 price range, but that's still highly affordable for most people. And we do expect that the federal government will be purchasing some of these tests that we can distribute to underserved communities to make sure that everyone has equal access.
Admiral, can you clear something up for us? There was a doctor on cable this week who said even after you're vaccinated, that doesn't mean you can take your mask off or you're out of the woods. The question is, a lot of people like me are questioning, well, isn't that what that's supposed to be about? Let us get back to normal life at some point by getting vaccinated? Are we still going to have to restrict travel, lock down, and wear masks after being vaccinated?
So I think everyone is just being extremely careful until we have the data. Having a vaccine that's this effective should mean that you're not going to transmit the virus. We now have some data, particularly from Moderna, that suggest that you won't transmit the virus, but we just need to prove that, right? Because it is theoretically possible that you could still carry some of the virus and transmit it in a small percentage of people. But I would sort of bring the temperature down of the public right now on this, because I think the physicians, the scientists are just having an abundance of caution that we need to make sure that that's true before we advise it. But let me just say, under any circumstances, by May or June, when 70 or 80% of Americans get the vaccine, the virus will essentially be gone. So whether that's an issue or not, we're going to get back to pretty normal by that time. But I do expect the data will show that getting the vaccine will greatly reduce your chances of ever transmitting it to anyone. But I think we just need to wait to make sure the data prove that. And they won't be too long. We're already getting that suggestive data in, particularly from Moderna, and I think Pfizer will be coming out with that pretty soon as well.
Admiral Brett Giroir, thank you very much for your time.
So happy to be here.
Ahead in America this week, United We Stand. It's Pfizer versus Moderna. Next, the one major difference between the two coronavirus vaccines. This newest coronavirus surge requires additional American resolve. Wear a mask, save lives, social distance, fight transmission, wash your hands, avoid the disease. Together, let's make the sacrifice to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
The Moderna vaccine will give us one more option in the fight against COVID, but only if the FDA approves it for emergency use. Both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines have the same level of effectiveness, but how do they differ? Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains.
The Moderna vaccine, just like Pfizer's, is what's called an mRNA vaccine. Both have been shown to be at least 90% effective at telling your body to fight off the coronavirus if you get exposed. Public Health Advisor Dr. Steve Fagans told me it helps in
reducing the severity, reducing how severe that is going to be.
According to the data, both are more than 90% effective at this after 2 doses, which both require. Both report no serious side effects with large combined number trials.
The phase 3 trials are well over 70,000 individuals. And so it's not like there was a shortcut. In fact, we've had many more eyes, even many more individuals on this vaccine. This maybe not as long than any vaccine we've had kind of in history.
As for differences,
The one difference between the two products relates really to the cold chain requirement.
Pfizer vaccine needs to be kept at extremely cold temperatures, given within 6 hours after it's readied for use. Moderna just needs ordinary refrigeration and can be held up to 12 hours. This makes it easier to access for some rural areas and globally for those who may not have this kind of transportation and storage. For America This Week, I'm Liz Bonus.
Thank you, Liz and WKRC, for that story. The Trump administration and Operation Warp Speed accomplished an amazing feat. The FDA approved a coronavirus vaccine that was created and is now available to some Americans in only 9 short months. However, many experts, including a famous science guy, predicted a different vaccine timeline earlier this year.
It's 2 years, everybody. 2 years before a vaccine.
Even with all the technology we have now.
Yeah, I think 2 years to get something that people trust.
Joining me now is pandemic expert Dr. Dina Grayson. So, Dr. Grayson, you got to give some credit. Trump administration, Operation Warp Speed, had everyone wrong. Did they not?
Well, they didn't quite. I don't think they had everyone wrong. I'm actually an MD and a PhD, and I develop medicines, and so that's what I do every day in my day job. And one of the things I called for in early February, as you know, I called for the Trump administration to manufacture hundreds of millions of vaccine doses at risk, because really the only cost was money. And, and so if the vaccines were not proven to be safe or effective, you throw them away. But at least once you had the trial results, you'd have those vaccine doses sitting around. And that's exactly what has happened here. So I was actually really pleased, and I publicly praised the Trump administration at the time for doing this. It was the right move. I think that, look, every expert looked at this and said everything absolutely would have to go right for a vaccine to be available by the end of the year. Remember, Mr. Trump was promising this before Election Day, and I did say I thought that was too fast looking at the timelines for the clinical trials. But this is really, truly a testament to our biomedical research in this country. We have the top scientists and doctors in the world. We are world class at this. And truly, I mean, this is an incredible victory, not just for the United States, but really for the human race.
I think it's very important to point out, there are those who say, and I think you've said that it's not Trump's credit. It shouldn't call it a Trump vaccine because it was, Moderna and it was Pfizer who did it. But they did it knowing that they were going to have a $2 billion payout on the backside of coming with a vaccine that works. I mean, it's a lot easier to go and risk your own money. And when you know if it works, you're going to sell it for $2 billion or sell your doses for $2 billion.
No, I don't think so. Now, Moderna is a different story. Moderna's research and development was funded by the government. So that truly, and that's through BARDA. I've worked with that organization. We have these kinds of programs in place, especially for your smaller companies. Pfizer knows. I mean, they know there is global demand for this vaccine. And in fact, we know that because the United States the Trump administration opted not to buy more doses from Pfizer. And now we're kind of in the back of the line. And Pfizer said, look, we won't have anything until at least July, anything more than what we've already promised, and they'll deliver over the next 3 months or so. So I think with global demand, we've got 7.7 billion people, Eric, in this world. Pfizer knew that if their vaccine was proven safe and effective, there would be a plenty large market for their vaccine, for sure. And the good news here, look, let's face it, Eric, the good news here, not only are the vaccines safe and effective, but these are free to all Americans. Our taxpayers paid for it. Our tax dollars paid for it. Guess what? It is free of charge. And that's not something that's getting a lot of airtime. So I think we need to make sure everyone knows safe, effective, and free.
Safe, effective, free, and also the FDA's pushing forward some of the regulation approvals to make sure that these vaccines were tested quickly and got out there, and the efficacy, fortunately, is pushing north of 95%. That's amazing. As far as Pfizer is concerned, yeah, it's also a good thing. It's also a good thing when they sell to other countries. We shouldn't look at it as like, hey, not us. It shouldn't be them either, because those people travel. This is a global pandemic. We want everyone vaccinated, not just Americans.
Eric, that's exactly right. I mean, this virus doesn't care about borders, as we've seen. It spreads like wildfire. And I also I think we also have to give a lot of kudos to the Food and Drug Administration. I've worked, with the scientists and other experts there on other pandemic threats. And, they were burning the midnight oil. I have never seen this level of transparency, to be quite frank with you, in authorizing a medicine or a vaccine.
Right.
They published their dossiers in advance publicly online. They held their hearings, actually online.
Right.
You could live stream it. I thought it was fabulous transparency for the American public.
Doc, I got to go. I agree with you 100%. Thank God about that efficacy, because that could have been a 50 or a 70. It's a 95 number. That's fantastic. Dr. Dina Grayson, thank you.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you and to everyone. Thanks, Eric.
And you as well. You as well. Coming up on America This Week, United We Stand, new developments in the investigation of Hunter Biden and what it might mean for the incoming administration's foreign policy. I spoke with Goya CEO Bob Unanue on America This Week and announced a collaboration between Goya and my son's foundation, the Eric Chase Foundation. I want to reiterate my gratitude to Goya for the great opportunity to be working with them to save lives in the relentless opioid crisis in America. What a blessing to have our message displayed on their popular products. Please join me and Goya and NASCAR in fighting America's #1 cause of accidental death. Go to ericchasefoundation.org, donate what you can, and help us save our children's lives.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
We stand American strong. City by city, state by state, town by town, stand American great. Everyone stands American strong. When strength by one equals strength by all.
American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, points out how rough and tumble politics shape opinion in every region in our country. We tell American stories, stories that touch our people, determine our politics, focus on the future of America.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week. Hunter Biden now confirms he's under FBI investigation. The president-elect's son is facing subpoenas focusing on his business dealings in at least 2 countries. Sinclair's investigative reporter James Rosen has the details.
According to documents that first appeared in the Daily Caller late Friday evening, Hunter Biden sent an email to the general manager of a Washington, D.C. office building in September 2017 asking for keys to be made for his, quote, new office mates, among whom the younger Biden listed his father, the former vice president at the time, Dr. Jill Biden, Jim Biden, the brother of the president-elect, and a Chinese man Hunter described as, quote, an emissary from Chairman Yi Jianming, the head of Chinese energy giant CEFC. On the campaign trail, former Vice President disclaimed any knowledge of his son's work.
How many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
The disclosure that Hunter Biden sought easy access for his father to an office came just days after the younger Biden confirmed that he is under federal investigation over his finances, as was first reported by Sinclair in October. You have raised a national security concern. Tony Bobulinski, the former business partner of Hunter Biden, who has been cooperating with the FBI, has said the president-elect is vulnerable to Chinese compromise.
Because of those financial ties and relationship ties, I don't feel like Joe Biden, as president of the United States, will be objective when it comes to China.
Professor Justin Jacobs is a scholar of Chinese history at American University.
If in the end you find out that they do have some sort of compromising information on Hunter Biden, they would try to use that as leverage against some sort of policy that Biden might want to carry out towards China.
Neither the president-elect nor his son nor his brother has been formally accused of any wrongdoing, and all have denied any impropriety. While Hunter Biden said last week his tax affairs are under federal investigation, Sinclair reported back in October that the FBI was focused on allegations of money laundering. On Capitol Hill, James Rosen.
Thanks, James. Now let's bring in Texas Congressman Brian Babin and get right to it. Let's start with, Congressman, this just came out this week that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has taken a shot at Leader Pelosi, saying that Pelosi hasn't brought the younger generation of Democrats up through the House and given them a fair shake. What's going on here? Do you see a power struggle on the left for that speakership?
I've seen a power struggle for the last several years. Eric, great to be with you. But yes, this is the liberal, far radical wing of the Democratic Party wagging the dog. And I think Ms. Pelosi is certainly feeling the heat. And this is why I think Joe Biden, and neither Biden nor Pelosi are actually in control of the party. And they're trying to push back because they know very well, Eric, that if AOC and her bunch get their way, they're going to drive the American people away. And so they're trying their best to push back without, rupturing the entire relationship.
The big concern is when Joe Biden is in the White House, Bernie Sanders has already said he's going to go in there and he's going to pull or push President Biden to the progressive left. The other concern is AOC. If she gains any sort of power and looks like maybe she's going to make a play for the speakership, she's going to pull for that green agenda that we know could cost Americans quite a bit of money.
Absolutely. It could cost us our entire republic. It could bring our economy down. Being from Texas, the Green New Deal simply would be a disaster for those oil and gas producing states. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions of employees that work in that sector. It would be an utter disaster to have those policies enacted. And this is why a Biden presidency and Biden administration is so chilling to even contemplate. If he even if we hang on to the Senate, if he uses executive orders and is being influenced by Bernie Sanders and AOC and that bunch, I'm very, very apprehensive about what's going to happen.
Very scary. Like you point out, if they do end up with the Senate, they'll have the House, the Senate, and the White House. They can basically do whatever they want without any pushback from Republicans. Sir, let's talk a little bit about COVID relief, the vaccine and the relief bill. Looks like $900 million. Looks like it's $900 billion is going to be available. Your thoughts? Will we get through, and is that enough, and the timing on it?
Well, I've been getting a lot of calls from, of course, I represent part of Houston, but I also have 8 other counties, counties that are rural. And I've had a number of my county judges call and say, hey, Congressman, the money for our counties for COVID relief is going to run out on December the 30th or 31st. It's going to be really, really bad. So I've been talking with our appropriators, in fact, my fellow Texan, our ranking member on the House Appropriations, Kay Granger, and told her of this problem, and she's very apprehensive about it. And so we're going to try to see if we can get these counties their money so that they're not going to go broke. And that's going to be really, really tough since Texas is in a big outbreak of COVID right now, and this is when they need it. But if they get together, we should have done this long ago. We've got $138 billion sitting in the PPP program, which was so very effective for our small businesses. And they should have done it a while back. For I think over 40 times the Democrats have ignored us when bringing up PPP. But yes, we need this package. It's not a perfect package by a long shot. The big problem is they're going to tack it on the omnibus, and there is so much going to be in there. It's just unbelievable. And they're trying to get past the inauguration of Biden to keep the government running. And I'm just going to have to look at it, see what all's in it, because I think it's $2.3 trillion of the taxpayers' money to keep this government from shutting down. And quite frankly, I think there's a lot of other things that are going on right now. I realize that Mitch McConnell has said that we need to get behind Biden now. But I think there's still so much evidence out there that there have been fraudulent election processes. And I think the American people, if 50% of the American people think that was a fraudulent election, we need to see something. We need to see something.
Congressman, I ran out of time. I apologize to cut you off. I have a hard break coming up right now, and I didn't even get a chance to ask you about one of your fellow congressmen, Eric Swalwell from California. A lot going on. Brian Babin from Texas. Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Set your DVR so you never miss an episode of America This Week, United We Stand. Go to Facebook.com/America Bowling, all one word, to find out where and when we air in your city. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you miss a show or want to rewatch an interview, you can see them all right there. This newest coronavirus surge requires additional American resolve. Wear a mask, save lives, social distance, fight transmission, wash your hands, avoid the disease. Together, let's make the sacrifice to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
This newest coronavirus surge requires additional American resolve. Wear a mask, save lives, social distance, fight transmission, wash your hands, avoid the disease. Together, let's make the sacrifice to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
Thanks for joining us for another America This Week, United We Stand. There are many ways you can spread some holiday cheer. If you have the means, donate to your favorite charity, maybe the EricChaseFoundation.org, and spend some time with your loved ones, even if it's on a video call. We hope you take time to enjoy the little things this season. I hope you all have a happy and healthy Christmas. Have a great night, everybody.